Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to talk about what is Streamlit in Snowflake. So basically, what happened was I got a request from a client to build a user interface, web user interface in Streamlit in Snowflake, and I thought of recording the screen while I am while I'm following a tutorial, and that might be useful for anyone out there. So here I am on the Snowflake website, which talks about Streamlit and Snowflake. Now let us try to understand what is Streamlit. And so as we all know, Snowflake takes care of everything about data. So you can dump data, and then you can it streamlines the way you query data and everything about data. Now Streamlit basically gives you and gives you allows you to create a web interface for the same Python code that you run on any data analysis while doing data analysis. So Streamlit will turn your data and ML models into interactive apps with Python, everything within Snowflake. So earlier what happened was data used to reside in Snowflake, and your application would reside on a third-party server, and the server would query the data and then do the visualization or any interaction on the data. Now with Streamlit we can build the application right inside the Snowflake ecosystem, and then since the data is already there, it becomes much safer way of building applications, and you can then share that web interface over internet with anyone. So that is the crux of it. So let us quickly go over the Streamlit documentation a bit. So Streamlit is an open source Python library that makes it easy to create and share beautiful custom web applications for machine learning and data science. In just a few minutes, you can build and deploy powerful data applications. Um, okay, so that's about Streamlit. Now let us come to building a demo app in uh, in in with Streamlit and Snowflake. So uh, let us try out a basic app. So this is the app that I was mentioning earlier. So what I will do in this tutorial is follow each of these steps, record them, and share it with you, and share my learnings all throughout along with it. So now this says that this guide demonstrates the instructions for building a Streamlit application with Snowpark for Python uh, and data from Snowflake Marketplace. So we have to pull data from the Snowflake Marketplace, and we will use Snowpark for Python. So let us try to understand what Snowpark for Python is. Snowpark for Python basically is a library, a Snowpark library, which provides a set of APIs for querying and processing data in a data pipeline. Using Snowpark library, you can build applications that process data in Snowflake without moving data to systems where your application code runs. So you can build applications using Snowpark library right inside the Snowflake, and you can process that data without moving your data to a system where the application code runs, right? So the security is increased. Now the the Snowpark library is available in three languages: Python, Scala, and Java. So yeah, Java, Python, and Scala version, and we are going to use the Snowpark for Python APIs, and the data that we want it to work on will be pulled from Snowflake Marketplace. Okay, so what you will build a Streamlit application that loads and visualizes data loaded from Snowflake Marketplace using Snowpark for Python. Okay, so this is what we want to build. What is Snowpark? Set of libraries and runtimes in Snowflake that securely deploys and processes non-SQL code, including Python, Java, and Scala. Okay, so that what we covered earlier. Now you the Snowpark will give you client-side library as well as runtime constructs. So you can have a client-side library which will be like ML model APIs or data frame APIs, and this will happen on the client side. So basically, since this is Streamlit is taking care of running the APIs in a web interface, so the client side library will take care of Snowpark ML APIs and data frame APIs, and the server side runtime will take care of UDFs and stored procedures. So all the data resides on the server side runtime, like the data frames and stored procedures and the warehouse. Uh, that part is on the server side runtime, and client side will take care of ML model APIs or data frame APIs, like processing data frame or optimizing data frame or extracting something out of it, or like transforming the data, um, or doing some operations on top of data can be done on the client side, so that makes it faster. Now, what is Streamlit? Streamlit enables data scientists and Python developers to combine Streamlit component-rich open-source Python library with scale, performance, and security of the Snowflake platform. So you get the scale, performance, and security of the Snowflake platform, um, whereas and on top of that you can use the Python library for Python library within the Snowflake platform, and it enables data scientists and Python developers to combine the Streamlit's component. So basically, Streamlit will give you a web interface. Okay, so which you will through which you can use implement the same Python code and the data right inside the Snowflake platform. So in this tutorial, what we are going to learn is how do you create and access the current session object in Streamlit. Then how do you load data from Snowflake marketplace? So Snowflake has its own marketplace where you have various kinds of data assets. You can choose which one to use, and you can load data from Snowflake marketplace directly into your code through APIs. So we'll see how to do that, and then we create Snowpark data frames and perform transformations on top of that. We create and display charts in Streamlit, and then we run the Streamlit in Snowflake in a web interface, and interface that you can share with outside world. So let's see. Now for this we need to have a Snowflake account. I did register on Snowflake earlier and was able to choose um, AWS US Oregon region, and then uh, we need to have access to environmental data atlas dataset provided by Noema. So in Snowflake marketplace, if you click on this, you will see the Noema data available, and you have to click on the get data button to get it. Since I already did it earlier, I don't see the get button here, I see an open button here. So basically it's an environment data atlas, a collection of data on topics like emission, climate change, air quality, etc, etc, and you can utilize it in your code. So um, these are the fields, and if I open it up, it will take me to a interface where I can run SQL like queries on top of this data. So these are some sample queries, and so these are some sample queries on these tables, and with a where clause um, and some extra conditions like order by or anything else. You can customize it. Now it says our requirement says that follow the instructions to gain access to environment data atlas, which we already took, and we will use data in schema environment from tables, these three tables. So these three tables are like, you have environment dot, you can replace this with those three tables and you should get a response. Okay, let's move to the next step. So it says follow these steps to start building Streamlit application in Snow site. And when you go to Snow site, you click on let's go to Snow site. It says the Snowflake web interface. Okay. Now what we do is we here is the Snow site. Okay, so here this is how you access Snow site. So you go to app.snowflake.com and then you will see all the options here. Here you choose Streamlit. Before that, I will just quickly tell you to add a database so that becomes easy for you. So test db abc, okay, and I created a test db abc database, and since we already clicked the add button on this uh, data set, environment data atlas, I see that data here. You see, um, environment data, this one, environment data is already available under the admin account. Okay, now I added a new database called test dbabc, and I go to Streamlit, and then I say create new Streamlit application. Here it gives me a name with timestamp as a unique name, and warehouse is the one, the default one, and here I can choose test dbabc, which is a public database, and I create a new Streamlit app. Okay, you create a Streamlit app, enter the name, select warehouse, select app location, click create. Now here it says replace the sample application displayed in the code editor on the left by following the instructions in the subsequent step. So here you got a sample application. It says that you need to replace this, but let us see what UI does it load, so we get a good idea. So it loads um, some of this data, and it's a slider, and you have a bar graph here and a table here. So now let us, so basically this is what it is, and you can you can run this code, and then when you share it, you get a web interface. Now I can run this web link in any browser, and it should open up and show me that visualization. So basically this is coming from data in Snowflake marketplace, and the code resides in Snowflake, the Python code, and the browser is basically displaying the web interface. So it gives security as the data and the code both resides in Snowflake, and that's where the Streamlit application makes the difference, or is important to understand. Yeah, I think it requires a login, but okay, maybe this is that link, which this link might not require login, but let's see. Oops, this also requires login, so my bad. Now the tutorial says that replace the code with the next step. So here it is, it says delete existing application code and copy it with, replace it with this code. So here we go, and then we run this, we get a session. That's the main goal for this code. You are setting the page width to full width of the browser window and gaining access to the current session. Then we load and transform the data. So this is how we load and transform the data. Here they have specified the atlas data, the tables that it want, and then it says cached the data. We leverage to load and transform the data, and here we are using some methods. So run this, and then the next part of the code is CO2 emissions by countries. So you take that code, and then what it does is it's a line chart. It displays a line chart, you see here, and it takes data frame as a parameter. It's a subset of this, and in the countries that is chosen are these, and then there is a drop down which takes this, and then this, then this. So next part is forest occupied. There is another method, forest occupied land. This basically is again a chart, bar chart, and this is the, it has a slider, and then it has an application component. So we add the following code snippet to display application header, create a slider, CO2 emission and forest occupied land options respectively in the sidebar, and then it says, now this is the entire code. You run the application, it should look like this. Let us see by running the code. Okay, we are getting line chart. So here is a drop down of countries, and you can select multiple countries or two countries, and you can also choose another view. So this is forest occupied land, so this is the forest occupied land, and you can change that. Okay, great. So this is exactly what this tutorial asks us to do. So it says that you learned how to access the current session object in Streamlit, then you learned how to load data from Snowflake marketplace, and then you learned how to create Snowpark data frame and perform transformations, and then you learned how to create and display interactive charts in Streamlit, and then you learned how to run Streamlit and Snowflake. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is available in a public URL. So how do I do this? So let me copy this. Okay. Let me try to load this and see if it is available without a login. Okay, it asks me to log in. Okay. Yep. Okay. Maybe it is not shared on a public proper access. But yeah, since I'm logged in this browser, it will not ask me for the login, and it will show me uh, the visualization. Okay, so that's a great way of keeping the data in Snowflake and building the